All right, I'm not very good at cool intros. Maybe that's my shtick. Do I need a shtick? Anyway. I got some cool new toys, and I thought I would have, go me, I have the patience that I actually didn't install some of this stuff yet. I actually waited to record a video, so cool. And yeah, so the first one being Osiris. There's a lot of hype on this thing, and myself included, and I usually don't get on hype trains, and I'm not trying to peddle this, by the way. I'm just really excited that I have it, which is crazy because I normally, if you look at this thing, a good huge chunk of it is analog, and I'm all about the analog on this thing. This is digital. It's actually super digital, I would say. But it sounds really cool. I think it fits, hopefully, the sound that we want on our upcoming album. And yeah, I wanted to give it a shot. So if you noticed, I actually sold my Platts, which was another digital oscillator. And I had no negativity toward Platts. I thought it was really cool. I'm glad that I got it. It just always kind of sounded thin to me. So what I did was, especially with modular, like if you don't like something, you should sell it. The part I liked about Platts was that it had, the wavetable portion was one of the nice features about it. I also kind of like the drum stuff, since those are harder to do with the remaining stuff, but with drums I can get samples. Like, it's not the main thing I should care about, I think, for my Euro rack. Other people are going to be different, which is kind of the cool thing about Euro rack, is that it's different for everybody. Anyways, in my case, I thought this was going to work really well, so I picked it up. It got here literally today, and I haven't installed it. Haven't even tried it, don't even know if it works yet. So we'll do that hopefully in a second. Oh, actually, by the way, this is the box. I'm not doing an unboxing video, but here it is. It did come with a manual, though. Like, I actually thought that was kind of cool. So, not about the unboxing, but I am about the manual. This is a quick start guide. That's neat. Anyway, this is another module that I got. I didn't think it was going to be here in time, but it arrived, well, actually also today. And I also have the companion to it, which is this guy. I'm not installing it today. I'll say why in a second, but I will. This kind of replaces this over here, because what I was having, so I've moved my Euro rack. It used to sit right next to me, and I would just like plunk it down when I was ready to make music. Now it's kind of more here more permanently, which is nice. I'm running an audio cable from my, all my other crap all the way over to here, which is fine. It sounds nice. But I do have oddly more trouble with audio levels, and it's not because I moved it. I'm not actually sure what changed, because I didn't used to have that problem, and now I do, where I'm like overdriving stuff. And sometimes I want that, and sometimes I don't. So this, hopefully, is going to solve that problem. It's got balance line in, 2 of them, if I ever want to do stereo, and into Euro rack out. Actually, I have it backwards. Yeah, this is actually the wrong one. They both do the same thing, so if I have it backwards, then it's the other module. But I also upgraded the power supply. There is a hole right here, where the old power supply was, and I ended up getting one of these things. There's already one in here, which is a active bus board by Bifaco. So this is used with, in my current case, a switch mode power supply that outputs something like 15 volts bipolar, and this converts it down to 12 bipolar and 5, but I don't have any modules that use 5 volts, so I don't actually worry about it. I got it this way because the idea was if my rack ever gets really big, then I can get a bunch of these and I can spread the heat across all these bus boards without having to have this huge big brick power supply that's super hot to convert all the voltages. And eventually I want to get a fully linear power supply. It gets kind of technical. I'm using a switch mode, which historically is really noisy for audio. I have found maybe I won't get an analog power supply because it's been really quiet in terms of like noise, like unwanted noise, not like musical noise. Them's the modules. So next we'll see if I can install some of these modules, and then at some point I'll hopefully show what they sound like, in particular this. Is that a AT Tiny? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Burning time. So yeah, let me move the camera, and you can watch me fiddle through this thing. take 10. So some time has passed. It's dark outside. I've had dinner, and I have had a chance to play with this, which, by the way, spoiler alert, it's pretty fantastic. But I did run into a couple minor issues. I guess really one issue, and that was voltage per octave wasn't working quite the way I thought it was. I looked up the firmware, or the latest firmware notes, and it does seem like it fixes the issue I was running into. But while I was updating the firmware, which I've already done, I noticed this guy. When I took this out of the box, I noticed it before too, but I didn't think a whole lot of it. I was just eager to just bask in its glory. But I did notice it looked kind of like an AT Tiny, an Arduino, you know, one of those things. And it turns out I wasn't super wrong. I wasn't quite right, but what this actually is pretty darn interesting. It's the Electrosmith Daisy. So it's their Eurorack or synthesizer development kit that you can use to make, you know, one of these. So I thought that was really, really interesting and really cool because it's a new kind of up-and-coming Eurorack company that's using sort of another Eurorack company's development kit, which is arguably what this is for. So, you know, minor piece of detail there that I don't know if anybody's actually noticed yet. So, cool. Anyway, this thing is amazing, so I'm going to put it back in the rack and we can keep going from there. Okay, some more time has passed. Another firmware update later, actually, but everything's cool. Got everything working the way I needed. It's a new day. It's now light outside. I am wearing the same shirt, though. Did you need to know that? No. Anyway, I wanted to go through a couple, well, not a couple, I guess several, we'll see how far we get, ways to hook this thing up. So I have been playing with it some, and first I thought I'd show kind of the easiest thing to do. So, I need to plug it in the mix. So there you can hear just a pure sine wave. And actually, in fact, we can just play with it with like nothing connected to it except the output, since I've got the internal sort of VCA turned all the way up, so it's just, there's no VCA, it's just a drone. And if I change these, you can kind of see the main draw to a wavetable synthesizer module, whatever you want to call it. This one's different though, at least from the ones that I'm aware of, because you can go in two directions. That was the X, this is the Y. Not only that, you can go in both directions, and you can even do it at the same time. So obviously you can kind of go crazy with it, and when you're modulating this thing, you probably don't want to go nuts, so you wouldn't want to, maybe you do, but I think I'm going to find that when I'm using this, I'm probably going to go kind of subtle, and we'll get to that in a bit, but I guess let's do the next step, and that's to hook up some actual notes. So I'm going to plug in the main voltage per octave input, and then I'm going to plug in the trigger. This is the minimum amount you need to make this thing work, because if you turn this down, you've got a VCA. So now if I go over here, play a little quick ditty, and plug it into the right connection, shall we? There we go. And now we're cooking. You are building a Eurorack from scratch. Right? Really, the minimum you need is a MIDI interface or some way to make some notes, keyboard even, and the Osiris, and that's it. If you wanted to, you can upload your own wavetables. So even if you didn't have a filter or anything else, you could sort of emulate one by way of the wavetables, which is really pretty neat. You also have the sub oscillator, which I turned up and didn't actually mention. And you can, it's got several modes. So if I want a more conventional sub, I have it, like conventional waveforms. And I can also use -1 and -2 of the wavetable, so it's basically 1 octave or 2 octaves under, which is cool. I really like that. It makes it for ability to get a really nice fat sound. You could use the sub oscillator completely independently. Right now I'm not, so the sub oscillator is following the main oscillator in pitch, and they're sharing the VCA. So, having said that, turn that down a little bit. I'm not going to go super into, this is not really an in-depth review per se, just kind of showing you how I've been using it. You can do these sorts of things. So it's got built-in detune, and I can even go up. Do, what is that, 1 octave above? I think I can go 2 octaves. There you go. So you got the sub. You're covering a lot of the bases in terms of like the amount of frequency spread that you're dealing with from just like one oscillator, which is really pretty neat. So yeah, this is fun. This is a basic example. I'm gonna stop here and we get this out of the way because this is really cool, but it obviously is completely in my way right now. And by the way, this connection looks a little more complicated just because I'm splitting this out so you can see it. I'm not gonna use this for the rest of it. I just wanted to show an example of sort of what the waveforms look like. So I'm gonna kind of reset things for the next patch, and then we'll start from there. Okay, so I've reset, removed the oscilloscope, and this is where we were last time, more or less. So at this time, I'm going to add a filter. And I'm going to go with WASP. I've done it both ways. Sometimes the SEM does sound better with this thing, and sometimes the WASP does. It just kind of depends on what you're going for, which I think is probably true anyway. I'm going to do the low pass out, and the reason I'm going to do that is for this reason. Okay, so the thing about the filter is you're removing harmonics, right? So this thing creates harmonics in a way. It's almost like a wave folder in some respects. And actually, it has a wave folder on it. So if I wanted to go crazy, I could. I played around with that a little bit, but to keep things simple, the point I was trying to illustrate was this. So of course, if you have something that's rich in harmonics, and you filter it, you're kind of removing some of what Osiris is giving you. I mean, not completely. Like, you still have some kind of meandering about. But it did fine. I mean, you can go kind of, with conventional analog oscillators, you know, you kind of want to aggressively filter. And I'm sure there's times I'm going to want to do that with Osiris too, but you can kind of overdo it. The cool thing though is, so I can make it happen. This does seem like a good, yeah, it's a good way to get the WASP to go a little bit nuts. So if you're trying to go for the WASP sort of effect, I have found it's pretty easy to get there with the Osiris, which is kind of cool. So, all right, that's the second iteration. So I'm gonna keep going. So give me a sec, and we'll come back with adding more stuff to this. Okay. Let's modulate some stuff. So I'm gonna do something that I probably do too often, at least lately, but I really have a lot of fun with it. And that's, I'm gonna take sample and hold and plug that in here. And I'm gonna take the output and I'm gonna put it into, let's try wave Y. And I've got it running into Veils, which is a 4-channel VCA. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can control the amount of sample and hold that we're going to be sending to the Osiris, because if I just plug sample and hold in directly, it could go all over the place, which is kind of cool, but I want to tame it a little bit. And this is, I guess, one, I don't know, if I was splitting hairs, having some built-in attenuators on here would be nice. I don't think, I don't know, strictly required. That's why you have modular, so that you can do those sorts of things with the rest of this stuff. So I don't really consider it a downside given the size of this thing. I know some people said they would have liked that, but you know, it is what it is, and this keeps this thing nicely compact. So anyway, let's keep going here. If I do the sample and hold now, I don't have it into a clock, so if we play that, it's going to sound probably kind of funky. Let me set it in the middle here, since this is bipolar. So yeah, that's a little nuts. So instead, I'm going to take the clock, but I'm not going to use a clock per se. I'm going to use trigger. So every time I play a note, it's going to trigger the sample and hold, which means the value is going to change in line with notes to make it a little bit more beady. I don't know. It's going to be synchronized, I guess. Better way to put that. A little much. Turn that down a little bit. Now, I didn't think about this, but if I wanted to, I could instead run this into the port. run it back out to smooth out the sample and hold. Still a little nuts. Bring that down a little bit. So I can do that. I'm gonna not do that here. I'm gonna kind of go back to the way it was. Because I do like the actual step sounds. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool. But let's keep going. So I got LFO here, just chilling out. Why don't we just plug that in? Now to do that, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna use another channel off Bailey's. Let me find a shorter cable, maybe? That's too short. Oh my god. Should organize my cables. Okay, whatever. We'll use a long purple one. So, plug that in here, and I'm gonna go wave X. Which is kind of crazy. Okay, so that's way too fast. Let me slow that down. Still too fast. Yeah, I like that. Alright, so maybe pop this up a little bit. Nice. And there we go. I'm actually not doing a whole lot with what I could actually modulate. I mean, all these plugs are basically modulation sources, so I can go bananas with this, and all I'm really doing is using modulating X and Y, which I guess is like the thing to do with wavetables. But there's a lot more. I'm gonna keep going a little bit farther. And that's that. I want to get a VCA involved on the filter. So let's do that. I'm going to plug this into CV2. And I want the positive envelope. And I need a trigger. Well, a gate, actually, in this case. So I'm going to plug in a gate. Which plug is that? Can't see it from here. It's over here. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I know I'm getting somewhere. Digging that. And yeah, there you go. So it's probably a little bit over the top for what I would actually use it for. I don't think I would modulate quite this extreme unless I was really using this prominently in a mix. And even then, it's going a little crazy. But we got one more thing that I want to do, and that's to sort of speed this up, because this song is actually originally made a little ditty to be a lot faster, and I don't know, we'll see what other stuff I might end up doing in between here. Last time I did this, I actually was using twin waves for both the LFOs, and I had them set to slightly different frequencies, but I think I like the sample and hold trick better. I don't know, I think that's cool, so that when it triggers differently on notes. Anyway, let's see what more I can do with it. It'll probably be the last one, and then we'll wrap up. Alright, it's the last one. I switched the X and Y inputs, so the X is now being modulated by the sample and hold, yep, and the Y by the LFO. Then I've got the VCA, so the Osiris now is in sort of drone mode, so it's just constantly making noise, much like a standard oscillator is going to do. So you need to basically put it in front of VCA. I'm only using one VCA here for the audio and filter, just at the end stage. So I've got that running into the Wasp. I think everything else is the same. I just made the song faster and I adjusted the delay. So let's see what this does. Why not? And right off the bat, I really like this, but we can mess with some stuff because now we've got a full VCA. Whoa, spooky. I can. So, got this going. Let's add some more detune. Make it pretty nuts here. Yeah. Ooh, I'm not modulating the Y. Let's do that. Yeah, I'm digging that. That's great. So there you go. That's Osiris. I really like this thing. I'm glad I picked it up. And yeah, I guess I'll do final thoughts where you can see my face. So I'll be back in just a sec. There's booze in this. Yep, which maybe underscores how much effort this video actually took. And thought it was going to be simple, and I guess it was. But anyway, it was fun. And I learned a lot about this thing, and I really like it. And to no discredit to Platts, I don't have it with me because I ended up selling it. But I did like it. It just, think about Eurorack as if if you don't use it all the time, and it's not, like if you don't really fall in love with it, you just replace it. That's the sort of whole point of Eurorack. It's like super personable. But I did like Platts. It got me going, and it has some of the same sort of starter features this one has in terms of like VCAs, and it's got even a larger palette of sounds. But boy, this thing, I really like it. I think it has a better, fatter, like not thin or hollow sound, and Platts tended to have that. And it focuses on the main thing about Platts that I really enjoyed, which was the wavetable stuff. But it's got way more than that. I haven't really even touched on everything that this thing can do while trying to fumble through those demos. So anyway, I hope you got something out of it. At least I did this time, so it wasn't a complete train wreck waste. And I'm really excited to keep working on this. So I'm gonna wrap this video up, but though maybe there's more coming. If you wanna support the band, I think the best thing you can do is just go to victimcash.com. From there, you can go to our Bandcamp page, and if you're gonna do anything to support the band, buying our albums is awesome, especially on Bandcamp. We get most of the proceeds. That helps go to get stuff like this. It lets us know that people like our music enough. If you don't want to do that, that's totally cool too. But if you do want to support us in other ways, just telling people about us would be fantastic. You can link people to these videos, that sort of thing. But yeah, until next time, I'm gonna start working on the song because it's starting to become a lot of fun.